Welcome to Out of the Noise podcast, a spiritual growth podcast. This podcast is about holding sacred space to help assist humanity to raise their consciousness through connection by having courageous conversations out of the noise of mainstream with heart-centered leaders, wisdom keepers, and divine humans expanding into their authenticity and soul purpose. We will explore spiritual concepts, practices to deepen into your healing and the collective. Priestess Lilly is a medium, light activator, and heart-centered leader that is committed in raising the light frequency and consciousness here on Earth for us all. You can work with her and learn more by visiting www.priestesslily.com. Enjoy your spiritual learnings.
Welcome to today's episode. Healing is a deeply personal journey, and not everyone finds the courage to show up for themselves and begin the unraveling. Men in particular can be hesitant to share their stories, and stepping into the vulnerable space of personal growth and healing is not always easy. That is why I want to take a moment to thank my guest, Alex, for showing up and sharing his truth with us today. His courage will undoubtedly inspire other men to take their own steps towards healing, creating a ripple effect that touches others and calls them to action. Alex's journey, like many, reached a point where something felt off, like a darkness was settling in. It's a feeling I know many of us can relate to. I've had the profound privilege to witness Alex's journey firsthand and been honored to walk alongside him. I'm deeply grateful that he's here today to share his story. Before we dive in, if you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to comment, review, and share our podcast with like-minded people. Your support would mean the world to me. I am so excited to have you, Alex, on my podcast. And it has been really a privilege to be part of your journey as a whole.
You're welcome. It's been pretty awesome to be have you as part of my journey.
Yeah. You are the first guy that's ever been on my podcast. So I just want to give you the full credit where credit is due, because, you know, as much as I work with a lot of men, sometimes men are really reluctant to share their stories. And so I just want to give you gratitude, love for just showing up and to be able to speak your truth and encourage other men to step forward.
Thank you. Yeah, as you know, I'm a reluctant sharer as well, but I feel that I'm being called to kind of share my story a bit and hopefully help other guys take the first step.
So tell me a bit about yourself, Alex. Those that are listening, tell us, like, who are you? What do you do? Where do you live? Whatever comes naturally.
Yeah, no, good as gold. I've lived in Ashburton most of my life. I've been farming for 47 years now, dairy farming for the last 12 years. At times I've felt I've needed some help and kind of it's led me on this journey to end up talking to you, Lily.
Gee, not many people, that in itself is bloody scary, talking to me.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Okay, so what was the calling or the feeling that led you to come to me all those months ago?
It's probably a feeling in hindsight now, but I think an awareness of a darkness descending over my life, and quite possibly had been doing that for many years. But as I say, it's only when I look back, I actually realised what was going on. I became very insular, very distant from family and friends, and really I was struggling to find myself emotionally, I think.
Was I the first time you'd ever been to a medium?
No, I've been to one before. It was a different experience. Yeah, I felt he was quite good, but coming to you, and having already started on this journey was far more intense, probably isn't the right word, but far more involved and far more rewarding in terms of looking inwards and trying to find myself again.
You know, I always say people come to me when they're ready, and some people get really shitty with me and are like, I've waited 6 months for this session or whatever, but I always know that they come when they come at the right time. And I literally say to Spirit at the start of the week, if they're not ready to come, I don't want them to come. And that's literally when people start ringing in sick, or they get sick, or something happens, or they forget their appointment, because I want people energetically to move higher to their higher self and energetically move. I don't want us to just keep picking it, you know, sticking plaster. Yeah.
I think that's probably one thing I've actually enjoyed is your brutal honesty. That might sound scary to listeners, but I can assure you it's not. But sometimes you need to hear what you need to hear. And you have that ability to exactly do that, is to help us connect with our energies and look inwards and so shift some energy and move forward.
So after that first session with me, which that must have been about April, was it April at the start of the year? Was it the start of this year, 2024?
It certainly was, yep. Yeah. Yes, it was, yeah.
How did that session shift your way of being as a whole? Out of the session with me, what was the catalyst for you to start this massive inner healing, letting go journey? And what's changed for you in the physical world?
So what's changed for me throughout this process is actually learning to accept responsibility for oneself. And I mean that in the terms of health-wise, physically, mentally, emotionally. So for me, the biggest shift after that was the realization that I needed to get in touch with my inner self and my younger self, heal some old wounds, and actually start looking after myself in the emotional and spiritual sense, and to, I guess, look for happiness from within rather than from without, from outside. I think that's probably been the biggest shift for me immediately after that session. Yeah.
And I think that's, we don't, always know what we carry. We actually have no idea what we carry.
No, we don't.
And that's why I say to people, shit, when you're really ready to move, you'll move. And I know that you have gone and seen Trey from Trey Wellness, and there's been physical changes to your body. And I remember, a couple of months ago when you came to me, I didn't even realize that you were the same person. Like, I was like, holy crap, you just felt lighter. Your energy was lighter as a medium. I felt this massive shift for you about, you reclaiming. And then obviously you came to the retreat. That would have been a bit of an experience. And I suppose, like, for myself, it's really hard to explain what you do because we're all different, and we're all got different wounds at a cellular level and as a conscious level. But how could you explain it? Like, how do you have any words for it, or are you just like, it was just a whole different experience?
It was definitely a whole different experience. I was apprehensive, to be fair. I knew that I was going to be there with 4 ladies, and that in itself was a real experience, a really positive experience, for the trust that we all shared in each other, but also the safe space that you and Catherine provided for us to go further on this journey and to look more within, continue the healing process.
So those Kiwi blokes that are listening to this, because there'll be some blokes listening to this, in the shadows thinking, I don't know, not really sure about this. And there's also some women. There's also some women. What has been for you? Because were you one of those blokes? Did you know that you needed to change and heal?
No, I was probably like, I would imagine most blokes, that the expectation on blokes is that we have no limits. We
Yeah.
can keep going, we can keep working, we can keep giving, we can keep providing, we can just, we never make mistakes. And I was one of those guys that felt enormous responsibility to provide for everyone. I mean, we have 6 staff on farm, so it felt huge, well, what turned out a huge burden to be providing for those people as well. And I think at the end of the day, one thing I've learned is that all of us, need help to be the best version of ourselves we can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what you just shared is so huge, because I think right now, when the whole country's in a crisis around, it doesn't matter where you are, you're in a crisis, you're in survival, there's not enough, and I think men predominantly carry that massive sense of responsibility that, they've just got to keep going. I don't have time to be sick. I've got to put my pants on and just keep going. So there's this real lack of acknowledgement around what they need. What do I need? I've got to make sure the kids have got the school bags, the shoes, so you just like, you're on the treadmill. And I think that, we as society have allowed that to happen for so long, that the thought of giving yourself time, or saying, I'm not coping, or I need change, or I need to look at myself differently, or actually start to be different in the world, that creates a massive, well, it's scary as fuck. It's scary as fuck. Let's just start what it is. But then once you step into it, that you have to change.
Correct. Yeah. It is hard to explain what it takes, or the trigger that you realise you need to do something about it. I think a lot of guys that I know and on farms and round and about, I'm sure, have their battles. They keep it to themselves, which is what we're actually shocking at doing. And I feel if we could kind of, and I'm talking more about the blokes, because we're the ones that seem to suffer most from not being able to share or our emotions and stuff. But if we could actually speak our truth of how we're feeling, not judging other people, not trying to control anyone, just speak about how we feel, me would go a long way in preventing mental unwellness.
Yeah.
And I think it would promote brain health a lot, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree. And I think that, we don't realize from an energetics how much we actually hold in our physical body.
Oh,
So you come
100%.
to someone like me, or come to someone like Catherine for a healing, or go to someone like Trey, that you're asked that one question, and then it's like, holy shit, I haven't thought about that. And this person is seeing me for the first time, and my vulnerability and my rawness. And I think that's also feel like, when you're seen for the first time and you're held in that sacred space, exactly what you just talked about with the retreat with Catherine and I, that's when it might not feel so beautiful at the time. There's such a feeling of uncomfortability, but that's really when we can actually look at things deeper and differently.
Absolutely. And I feel that part of the process for us blokes is to be open to change, because if we're not, then nothing's going to improve. We're just going to stay stuck where we are and having those battles, and we're basically on a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And it's going to, for a lot of people, it will end in a mess. You were just talking about Trey and Trey Wellness, and that whole health journey as well, for my physical health, has been a huge part of this healing process for me, to the point where I actually feel comfortable in my body for the first time in my life. And that's pretty huge, actually, for me. It has been an awesome part of this journey. And also, we can identify through that process parts of our body that are exactly that, carrying fear and the body's just not functioning properly.
Yeah.
And if we can sort that out as well as the emotional and spiritual side of it, the energy side of it, it makes us a whole new person.
Yeah.
Without question.
And this is the thing, our suppressed emotions become disease in the body. And we all aren't, as much as the system would like us all to believe that we're all the same, we actually aren't. We're all genetically 100%. Made differently. And so what might work for me might not work for you. And I mean, I think with Trey, that's proven in what she actually does in her work.
100%.
Yeah. And I know that she's just done, I'm 46 and she's just done my genes for the first time last week. So it'll be interesting to see what comes through with my genes. And it's something that she's been asking me to do, but I've just got to the age now that I'm like, this vessel ain't going to keep working the way it's always been working. So it's time to maybe give it a bit more care and love.
Totally.
Yeah, a bit more care and love. Might not like what she comes up with, but I'll have to own it.
But it is what it is, and you do have to own it because that's actually what you are at a cellular level. You can't change that, so it's pretty powerful. It is very powerful.
That you're saying that to me.
Yeah, you will enjoy it. I know you will enjoy it.
Yeah, I will enjoy it. What has been the difference? What has people noticed? The people that love you, your friends and your family, what have they noticed? What have they noticed since you've started this inner journey of healing?
I think those closest would say a lot lighter. I'm a lot less burdened, far more engaged, I suppose. If someone walked into the house and they hadn't seen me for a while, they'd go, "Holy shit, what have you been doing?" And a couple of those people I've actually sent on to Trey. So, so I think probably the lightness, which would probably translate to a far higher energy field coming out, I think would probably be the best way to describe it.
Mm-hmm. And your connection, since do you feel more connected to the world and connected to yourself and feeling like more like you're being led and guided?
Totally. Yep, absolutely. When I go outside now, I'm far more aware of my actual surroundings, where before I was had blinkers on, really. Yeah. And just as far as myself goes, it's the calmness, it's the confidence in self, really, that I find is the biggest shift. I've lost a lot of anxiety. I don't know if that's quite the word. A lot of not really jealousy, but a lot of sort of taking too much notice of what other people are doing in the world, rather than just worrying about myself and what I can change.
Comparison is what keeps us small, keeps us stuck, and keeps us in the cycle of needing to please, needing more, keeps us in that like treadmill. And I can totally identify with comparison, and I can totally identify with that. And that is what I think when we stick to our own lane.
Yep.
That's when that's when life becomes beautiful. It becomes more in flow. It becomes more in harmony with what we're here to create and who we're meant to be in the world.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
I'm going to ask you a real left field question, because I think this is what Spirit's just dropped in. So I'm going to ask you a left field question now, and it's not one that I sent through.
I had a feeling that might happen.
Oh, of course you did.
Yeah.
Alex, what's your soul mission? What did you think was your soul mission, and what do you think it is now?
Oh, wow.
I told you.
Yeah. Thanks for that. My soul mission. I feel in the past, my soul mission, or what I felt was my soul mission, was actually to be the best farmer I could be.
Ooh.
Yeah, I felt, I feel that I used to struggle. Probably I used to judge people or admire people that had big farms and what appeared to be very successful businesses financially. I now realise that money has got nothing to do with success. It's actually me finding myself, my true self is actually far more important than how financially successful I am or our business is. Yeah. So for my soul mission now, I think on the retreat, one of the questions you asked me was, what was my biggest fear? And my biggest fear was live the rest of my life not being my true self and not finding my true self.
Oh,
So for me, my soul mission now is to do exactly that, to find my true self. And I'm still looking, I've still got stuff to sort out, and to live the best version of myself for myself.
Oh my God, I love that you've spoken that. I love that you have just spoken that.
I don't really know where that came from, but anyway.
Oh, you know what? I love that.
Yeah, I know where it came from.
Oh, you do know where it came from.
I do.
I love that you've spoken that, because I think so many people think it's about the house, the success. I mean, I was the same.
Yep.
You know, my first marriage, I thought it was about the house, the money, the sacrifice, the everything like that. And you know, it's actually, once I started shifting and obviously stepping more into my spiritual self and really owning, and you know, I'm still not 100% there. There's still work to be done. I think there'll be work until, you know, my last breath. But I've, you know, that when you start to shift thinking, what is the purpose? What is the purpose? What is the purpose? When you really start to feel like I am the purpose, it really starts to shift so much of your world in a bigger concept.
Totally, it does.
Yeah.
It's actually, when you kind of realise that, it's actually immensely powerful. It is immensely powerful. Just, I guess, so listeners understand kind of where we're coming from, that actually it is incredible. It's you know, it's far better than buying a new car and far better than buying a new house or a farm. The power within that simple shift, well, not simple shift because it takes a bit of getting there, but that shift in energy and to listening to your soul's voices, yeah, it is incredible.
Yeah. I know that, you know, a lot of people, for me, and when me and my husband decided to move to Picton, a lot of people thought we were mad.
Yeah.
What are you going to do up there? There's no work. Like, what are you serious? And yeah, it has probably come with a little bit of time sacrifice to some degrees when me and my husband aren't here together. But the bigger intention around family time, quality time, having more control on the way we live versus, you know, sitting in a car, driving to Christchurch, 9 to 5, on the treadmill, all of that. I feel like we have reclaimed a different part of our life that I never thought we'd actually get. And, you know, we are more present parents. We are more eat differently. Nature's like out our back door compared to like just being on the wagon, you know, on the hamster wheel. And, you know, that was probably something for us where we, you know, it was really about breaking down some really, really crazy belief systems and values.
Yes.
Where everyone said, are you moving to Picton to retire? And I was like, if only we wish. But it was more about, what do we value? You know, health, family, quality time. Boom.
Correct. Boom.
Because I believe flow, the money, the resources, the people, all of that stuff will just keep coming. Yeah. What were you going to say?
When you were tied up in your hamster wheel, running all your businesses and stuff like that, did you ever think that space that you've just talked about existed? Just for people that are listening and might be going, I'm too busy. And
I think for me, it was a lot of unwinding of conditioning, because I was that woman that needed to be busy, always had a to-do list. There was always something to be done. So I don't think it came as like a big, massive, like conscious shift. I think it came as like small little seeds that needed to be planted to get there. Did I think it was possible? Well, I felt it in my heart. I felt it in my soul. So of course I thought it was possible. It was about starting to attune my will to become it.
Yep.
Yeah, I think anything that we want or we create or we feel physically in our bodies, like a physical vision or, you know, I think it's just about us energetically bringing that into full alignment with our physical world. And sometimes that can be a big conscious jump in vibration and frequency. But it's, you know, that's where for me it was like planting all those little seeds to get here. Is my life fully aligned the way I want it to be? No, there's still some more seeds I need to plant, but I feel it's more purposeful than it ever has been. And I think it's attainable for everyone. It's just about looking at what are the blocks holding you back. And I think we're being forced to shift too, energetically. Yeah. So those that are listening, what is one piece of wisdom or guidance you'd like to leave the listeners with today?
I suppose take the first step. I feel when you're looking from the outside or when we're on that hamster wheel, the journey that I've been on and what we're talking about looks enormous. I went to a seminar and one of the guys there was an elite athlete and he was overseas and he got very, very sick, became very depressed. And in his own words, suicidal. And what he faced was enormous. But he described it as, how do you eat an elephant? And the answer is one mouthful at a time. You can't stop. You can't get there until you start. You need to take the first step. Take the first bite and the journey begins.
That's pretty powerful. Yeah. That's pretty powerful when you think about it. And I think that's the thing. Some people just think it's too big to change.
Baby steps. I think we've talked about baby steps.
Baby steps, absolutely. What do you do daily just to help you ground and reconnect to yourself?
I try and go for a walk early in the morning to see the sunrise. Actually, I've always enjoyed the sunrise. There's enormous energy in the morning sun. It's not destructive. It's very healing. And I heard the other day, and I think this is very positive, is to actually go out, stand outside on the lawn, on the grass, or on some sand, or on some soil, not on shingle or concrete or anything, and just ground yourself to the earth. And that in itself just helps release a lot of that negative energy in your body. And it truly is quite remarkable. The small things you can do that are easy to do that make a huge difference on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And I guess it's always looking for the next variation of that. What might be beneficial or help you along the way.
Yeah, totally. Are there any last words or gems of wisdoms you want to share, Alex?
People are out there listening and wondering how on earth you get in touch with yourself or your feelings or energies or spirits. That might scare some people. I find a really, really good place to start is just by focusing on your breathing. That just seems to really help ground you, shuts out all the world's noise, and just helps you to focus actually on yourself. And for me, that's really where I needed to start, was focus on myself. And I kind of feel everyone out there, it's probably a really good place to start.
Yeah, love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much, gorgeous, for coming on
the
podcast.
You're welcome.
I cannot wait to see and to witness, more of your journey. I know that, you have so much to offer the world, so much to be in the world, and there's so much wisdom still to present itself to you. It's a pleasure to be part of your journey. it has been totally to witness the things that you've looked at. But the most of all, I just think like, Alex, you've arrived, hun. You've actually arrived.
Yeah.
You've stepped into a whole other vibrational frequency and you've arrived, and there's no returning now.
No, I can't go back.
You can't go back. That's why I go, where's the eject button? Where's that eject button?
Yeah, no, there's no rewind button now. Well, I would just like to say to you, it's been amazing to have you as part of my journey, and a massive part of my journey. And Catherine and Trey and others that I won't mention the name, but this process has brought me to a new place. And I was very reluctant to do this podcast, as you know, but I felt I was called to do that, to share. And throughout my journey, it's become very apparent that that's part of my calling, is to share my story and help other people. When I came on here today, I thought, well, if I can help one person, male or female, to step forward, to take that first step, to take the first bite, and actually stop them slipping any further and help lift them up out of the quagmire, it'll be worth it.
Yeah. You know, I probably 2 weeks ago, and it's probably been sitting in the back of my mind for probably quite some time, but I've been too scared to do it. We have all these podcasts and platforms of people interviewing, other practitioners and everything like that, telling people how to do it, telling people what, and I just decided I ain't going to do that anymore. I want to interview the real people, the people that have the wisdom, the knowledge within themselves, the people that are actually doing the work, give a voice to the voiceless. I decided that I want to flip it all on its head, because it's real people that people connect with. It's real people's stories that people connect with, that then you speaking your truth might be a spiritual nudge for someone else. And that's where I just decided that, it's more about the authenticity and the integrity of people showing up for themselves for me right now than actually, 1,000 likes on the page or 150 downloads or something. For me, it's like, we've got to get real. We've got to break down all the barriers for people to be heard.
Yes. And I think that's a take-home point too, is that in this journey, people are doing it for themselves.
Yeah.
And they've got to get their head around that. They're not doing it for anyone else other than my family. They have to do it for themselves.
Yeah.
And when they realise that, it becomes a lot easier.
Oh my God, totally. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, honey.
No worries. You're more than welcome.